open up by, there are many different advocates and families here that have children in different levels of discipline and different levels of challenges that the family is going through and that the young child or young adult is going through. I do know that there are a significant number of cuts that the governor has put forward, and that's early intervention, and I'm sure there's some early intervention parents and advocates here in the room. The 4201 money, I know there are many advocates here and many parents that have children that are in private schools that are having the 4201 money and make sure that they have the advantage of using that money for their children. And the last is the developing disabled, which if you take all those three cuts and you add them up, it's close to $300 million in cuts. And now that's without the federal money. And you put the federal money in, it's another 300. So it's an actual 300 million hit, but it's an actual another 300 million hit because you don't get the federal money to match it, which is a $600 million hit to families across the city and state of New York. We are in very, very difficult times, probably the most difficult times that I can remember. And I go back a few years. I was one of those laid-off police officers in 1975, so I knew what we went through in the 1970s. I seen the ups and downs in the 80s, 90s, but never ever witnessed anything as terrible as 1975, where we had scores of thousands laid off, firemen, police officers, teachers, and laid off for as much as 3 years. So those times are back to a large degree. Not that any one industry has impacted it. It's a combination of spending at the state level and city level. It's a combination of the markets hit, and we took a downturn, and those pension funds are not what they used to be. We have to make sure that they are whole. And it's Medicaid, right? Medicaid, we spend $1 billion a week on Medicaid. It's $52 billion a year, with a rise of about $6 to $7 billion over the next 2 years. And that's not to include education, which is somewhere in the category of $23 billion today. When I went into the city council in 1998, just to give you a perspective, education dollars for the school system was $8 billion. That's 1998. Today is 2011, and it's $23 billion. So spending has increased across the board, and something had to be done. I believe that some of these cuts that are going in are draconian, and in nature will hurt the dynamics of the child, the dynamics of the family, and the dynamics of the community. So we have to balance those cuts and understand what that impact is, and how we least impact. Still feel the pain, still feel the hurt, but make sure that the impact allows for the services to continue. Having said that, we are, the Senate, are going in, as I speak, we're putting our bill together, which will be ready on Tuesday. And that bill will be putting money back into early intervention, probably try to buy the whole thing back. The same for the 4201 money, and the same for the developing disabled. So I'm not sure at what numbers we're going to come to by Tuesday. The Assembly will put their bill together, and we will have Assembly bill, we'll have the Senate bill, and of course we have the governor's budget. And that's when the dance begins, between the Senate, the Assembly, and the governor, which cuts are draconian and are going to hurt too much, and that we should not put forward or minimize the effects of those cuts by reducing the number. So we're in the process of doing that as I speak. I'm pretty sure that our bill going out on Tuesday will be a good bill for most, if not all, of the people in this room today. We gotta hope that the Assembly and the Senate can come together on this very issue that affects you and each and every one of you and each and every one of the advocates here today and the different providers that are here today. So, I really just wanted you to know that we as a state senate have put those cuts back in. We have brought those cuts out of the budget and we have put other monies in to cover those at that price of $300 billion. I can't tell you where the money came from. We're putting it together. If you take something out, you have to have new revenue going in, so you have to show the revenue, and we're not going to increase taxes anymore. And I know there's some people running around, we should do this tax and that tax. We can keep on taxing until there's, what are we going to tax next year? What are we going to tax next week? The after the game, people are leaving New York because we're overtaxed as it is. So we got to come up with a balance that keeps our families here, keeps our community strong, and keeps the city and state of New York strong. Having said all of that, I want to start by thanking Regina Pachis for opening the door today and allowing us to have this great event. So give them a round of applause, please. We have a variety of special ed professionals for the betterment of the special needs children and families of our neighborhood. Everyone in this room is here today for the same reason. We are here because we love our children and we want the best education possible for them. We are looking to find ways so to improve the opportunities that have been afforded to them throughout their educational careers. For 5 years, I have hosted this forum to try and bring our communities together in order to improve the education both at home and in the classrooms of our children with special needs. Today's event will host a discussion important to the families and teachers of our children with disabilities. By bringing together the leaders within education and special needs industry, we can make the progress necessary to benefit our families and our society. It is the job of our great state to provide services to our special education community. And I have been a strong advocate for you in Albany. We have set to work on a great deal since returning to the Capitol in January. To protect our students in the schools, we have proposed measures to require all employees of special ed schools to submit finger imaging and fingerprinting for a full background check. To increase services for our proposed licensing trained vision rehabilitation professionals to work with the blind and partially sighted in the home, and the workplace to restore independent functioning. And finally, I have personally sponsored legislation to provide low-cost financing to develop and rehabilitate residential schools and facilities that serve children with special needs. While these are great steps, and I will work hard to support these measures, we have to mention that the looming state budget, which I just went into. This is one of the toughest years that I've ever witnessed. But we cannot balance this budget on the backs of the families here in this room that have special needs children. I've heard from families, thank you. I've heard from families about their fears about the proposed plan to shift education dollars for the deaf, the blind, and the physically disabled children to the local school systems. And I explained to you that we already brought that back, that 4201 money. We're hoping that the Assembly does the same thing. I have heard from you, and pleased to know that I will work every day for a responsible solution to our current fiscal crisis and will maintain much needed resources to our special education children. We must work to make sure that the children with disabilities the resources they need to have the best educational opportunities possible. I want to thank all the agencies that have devoted their time and their energy so to be here today, and I thank you very, very much. Give them all a round of applause because they're really